Good morning, everyone. I'm here with 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗞 today. I'm super excited. We had a little bit of a technical issue, but never mind. Hello, Nicole. How are you today?
Hello, darling.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to us about your cancer journey.
Thank you for having me.
Could you please tell us what cancer did you have and how old you were when you had cancer?
So I was 40 when I was misdiagnosed with breast cancer. I had gone for mammography in January. Everything seemed to be okay. And then all of a sudden in March, I felt this lump in my breast when I was in the shower. And I then had my best friend feel it. And then I had my husband feel it. And we all said, yes, this is a lump. Yeah. And I need to go get this looked at. So I went to my regular doctor and he sent me to the breast center right away. In my town at the hospital, which actually happened to be named after his wife who had passed away from breast cancer as well. So he, saw the urgency and he sent me right there. And the doctor came in and he did a fine needle aspiration.
So instead of doing an ultrasound and a mammography again,
correct.
So you went straight into a needle aspiration.
Yes, which at the time I didn't know wasn't standard care, but yes, he did that. And there was a colleague in the room with him, which was like weird and distracting. And, they were doing the whole ha 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 thing between the two of them. And so I was like, okay. So they did the needle aspiration and both of them disappeared for like a half hour. And then they both came back in and, they're talking and this, that. I just felt like it was like a distracted situation. And he said, you're good, you're fine. The cells look fine. And I said, well, not to be insulting or anything, because I think a lot of women are afraid to question doctors. I think a lot of people are just afraid to question doctors.
A lot of people,
So I just said, I don't mean to be rude or anything, but how do you know you got the right spot? And with that, he laughed and said, oh, don't worry. He kind of pacified me. Don't worry, we know. It's fine. You're good. Goodbye. Basically, you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
Are you kidding
me? Was it a big lump or a small lump?
Yes.
Was it a big lump?
Feel it.
Wow.
Which my breast surgeon told me later that he gets a lot of them wrong. That she sees them every week from there, and that doctors don't usually say that about other doctors.
No.
And she said, you don't leave a woman with a lump in their breast. You don't do that. You let them see a breast surgeon. You don't do that. So anyway, so I took him at his word. And then over the next couple of weeks, I just was like, it just didn't feel right. I was in the shower and I remember watching Oprah one time where she was like, if you think that, something's not right in your gut, go check it out. Don't let it linger. And I was like, oh my God, Oprah's talking.
I've got to listen to Oprah.
I must listen to her. So I said, usually because my aunt had breast cancer and my mother had ovarian cancer, I'm high risk. So usually when I get a mammography, they will do an ultrasound with it, but they didn't let me do that when I went for my mammography at the same time in January. So I said, I'm going to go, I live in New Jersey. So I said, I'm going to go to Manhattan. I'm going to go to New York to the best radiologist. Let me go over there. I'll make an appointment. They'll check it out. Yeah. So I called up and they were like, okay, so is this an emergency? Do you have a lump? I'm like, no, I'm fine. It's all good. I can wait. So they wound up giving me I didn't know, that I should really be going because they told me I was fine. So they made an appointment for 2 months later.
Oh my God. So that was already.
Right? Wait, it was March and I didn't get there till June.
Wow.
So
were you in pain or anything else, like tired or anything? No.
Nothing. I was in great shape, except for cancer. No, I was in great shape. Mm-hmm. I was in the best shape of my life. I felt good. So I went and they said, we're going to do some of our own pictures. They did the pictures. They said, oh, it's good you came. Something looks suspicious. And I didn't really realize what the word suspicious meant. I thought, oh, something suspicious. They'll look. I didn't know. So then they said, we'd like to move to the next round of testing, which is a stereotactic biopsy. And they were rushing me around, because they wanted to get these results so they could send them to the lab. Everything seemed kind of urgent.
Yeah. All of a sudden, you're just like in this conveyor belt and everybody looking a bit, worried. And trying to be positive, but
I was fine. I had no idea what was going on. So they move me to this room, and she starts, it's like a staple gun. Boom, boom, boom. And because what it's doing is it's taking the tissue from the core of the tumor.
so was it
now I know.
several
Yes.
okay.
Yes, and they do that guided by ultrasound, so they can see where they're doing it. Now, after that, I learned that the fine needle aspiration, and by the way, I'm not a doctor. I'm just here to share what I was told, the experience, and this is really for anybody going. They can ask these questions, and their doctors can advise them. But for me, I was told that the fine needle aspiration is not the truest sense of whether you have the cancer or not. Because imagine an apple, and the white of it is like clean cells, right? It's the flesh. So they put the needle in only so far, and they pull out clean cells. But the stereotactic biopsy goes to the core, like what the core of the apple would be. Okay. And that is what they told me is the true test. So that's what I was told. I'm not a doctor.
I have interviewed several people with breast cancer, and you were the only one that have had that. The stereotactic aspiration.
Oh, really?
Really. I have never heard of it. Oh. Everybody has had, the ultrasound, mammography, and the needle aspiration. But there has been. I can't remember right now, but
sometimes
there has been a lot of these diagnoses as well.
Yeah, sometimes that mammography doesn't pick it up though when it's
I know.
Small tumor. So that's kind of scary, right?
Yeah.
So that was that. They came back affirmative. Oh no. So I'm on the table, and I'm talking to her like regular, so, what do you think? Blah, blah, blah. She's like, what do you mean? Didn't nobody told you? And I was like, what? And she's like, you have breast cancer. And I was like, what? I remember it was so cold, and I remember just tears like starting to come down my face. Like, what?
When did she say like nobody told you? Who did she expect that was going to help?
I don't know. Maybe that's what suspicious men I should have known. I don't really know. It was very strange. You're right. I don't know.
So what did you feel in that moment when she said you've got breast cancer?
I was mad. I was like, how can you say that right now? You don't even have the result. Like, how do you know? And she's like, because I know. She's like, I can tell you that it's 99%. I know, but I just need to send it out for the firm affirmation. And it's so interesting because my sister is a PA, physician's assistant, and she had the same reaction. How does she know? And, like, you really shouldn't say that till you know. But they know what they're looking at, I guess. So thank God I listened is the point, that I still went. I didn't just trust them. I could have been dead,
I know, definitely, yeah. That could have cost your life, definitely. Yeah. So then after that, what's next? What was next?
They had me do an MRI because, they have to determine if it's in both breasts or not. And then I had also genetic testing because of my family history, because that genetic testing really helps you make that very tough decision of whether you're going to have a double mastectomy or just one. And that was a huge thing that I had to grapple with. But once once you kind of know your genetic testing outcome, there was no other way. I didn't want to have to worry about it coming back. I knew that when you have a genetic test and you have the genetic components, it's not if you're going to get it again, it's when. So I just made the decision to do it. And I remember, I never loved my, I had respect for my breasts, but I didn't love them, so to speak. They weren't beautiful, whatever. But, they were mine. And I still felt
it's part of your body to just.
It's me. This is huge. It's you. It's your womanhood.
It is your womanhood as well, isn't it? Like,
it's a loss. You cry for what you're losing, but you cry, but you know that you're doing it to survive. Ultimately that I wanted to be healthy, and I wanted to not have this problem.
And then from that on, so what was the next step? Like, did you have to do any chemotherapy before, or was it straight to surgery?
No, I didn't have that kind of cancer.
Remember what staging was, or?
Yes, I was stage. Well, so they don't. Sometimes they'll stage somebody, which is weird, before you have the results. But for me, I didn't know my stage till after everything. I was 2A.
Okay.
Stage 2A. I would have been 1, except that it was like the tumor was just a little bit bigger. So they had to
Wow.
stage it. They staged it at 1 first, but then they were like, sorry, we have to change. I'm like, really? I can't be number 1 ever. No, but it's like, so I was like, they called me to tell me, sorry, you're not stage 1. We have to make it 2A because your tumor was a little bigger.
A little bit. But so when you had the mastectomy, did they take the lymph nodes out as well, or not?
Okay, so yes, I had lymph nodes taken out of both sides.
Okay.
And they were clear.
Awesome.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you were the one deciding which doctor to have the mastectomy with.
But I went on a big quest. I went on the doctor quest. I like to get a lot of opinions. I think that that's very important for women to do. I know a lot of people are too afraid. They're scared. They just want to get it done, blah, blah, blah. But I really, for me, believing that I found that when you get a lot of opinions and you talk to a lot of them, you really get a clearer picture of what's going on. And there were times where there were conflicting opinions based on what kind of plastic surgery I should have, what I was a candidate for.
Yeah.
It was confusing going through it, but then once I really got to the finish line with it, and I explored so many of them, because it's so important to get the right fit for you, really.
Yeah.
The way that it works is, for people who don't know, is that you have a breast surgeon who takes away, and then you have plastic surgeons who put it back. And so, but they work together. And the breast surgeons have their team of plastic surgeons that they work with regularly. And so you could meet your breast surgeon and love your breast surgeon, but if you go and meet the plastic surgeon and you don't really care for them, you really can't use that surgeon, because they work together. So it was like a process. I had to really go see all the teams.
All of them.
And you really,
the breast surgeon and the plastic team, like all of them.
You meet with the breast surgeon first, and then you go and you meet with the plastic surgeons, because they tell you what they think they can do, right? And so I came down to, I was deciding, and one of them offered me sort of what's called, it's like a hybrid. There is an operation where you can take from the stomach and make 2 full breast mounds out of your own skin, and that's that. I didn't have enough for 2 complete breasts. So what they did is they used I was told, we can use some of your stomach, and we can do it combined with an implant. Now, when I went to see other plastic surgeons, they said, I would never do that. I wouldn't tell my sister to do that. That's crazy, blah, blah, blah. But then I learned that a lot of it has to do with what they pay in insurance.
Yeah.
So, they get paid the same amount of money standing there for 7 hours that they do for 13 hours. And my operation was a 13-hour operation, because you're talking about doing a transplant from your stomach to the chest wall, and it's called microsurgery, and they have to, it's so intricate. They have to hand tie every single, I forget what they're called.
Probably like together with
to
the other
chest wall, and then they have to make sure that it takes, because they're doing a transplant, like literally. And so, the doctor that I ultimately went with, I walked out of one of the doctors, it was the two plastic surgeon teams that I went to. One was a man, and he was like, I'm just starting to understand cleavage. And I was like, but you're the head of the hospital. I don't understand. You're just starting to understand cleavage? And my husband was sitting there, who came to a couple of the meetings. He's like, he's just starting to understand it. No, and I was like, oh my God. So I wound up I was having a meltdown. I was like, he said no, she said yes, what do I do? So I went back to the breast surgeon, and she was like, listen, if she says she can do this operation on you, you go with her. I'm totally comfortable with that, blah, blah, blah. So I wound up really choosing the hybrid, even though it was 13 hours, because there's 2 different, this is a different operation. If you don't do that, they do what's called the expander method. So what she explained to me is you pay in time. If you don't do it this way, then, it takes several months, because what they do is they do the mastectomy, and then they put, you know, what's called expanders in so that they can stretch the skin, and then you've got to go back in and they stretch it over, and then you've got to do an exchange.
Apparently it's really painful too, right?
It can be. And that also is under the muscle. This operation it's over the muscle. It's your own skin a lot, so it's much more natural result, and it's much more comfortable. It's not tight. You know, you can see people, they're tight and it's like tall sometimes. This is much more of a natural feeling and a natural, it just feels better.
So the hybrid means that you have a little bit of your own stomach on both, and then an implant on both. Okay.
Correct.
That sounds like a very, very complicated surgery. Definitely.
It's not complicated. It's complicated. And the thing is that she said, you have to really love this. This is my passion. This is what I do. It's like art. It's like a tailor. You know, they're really, they have to make, it's a miracle. Mm-hmm. They have to make something out of nothing. It's fascinating to me, you know, that they've come so far with this. And I was so lucky to have her because I loved them both. You know, it wound up being, I couldn't have been cared for more. And, you know, you don't usually hear, you know, that people are so happy with their doctors.
Yeah. Yeah. So then really once you decide the doctor, it was just a matter of like, we're doing it very soon, the surgery.
It was a month to the day that I found out. I was in surgery, I think I found out on June 13th. I was in surgery July 13th.
Wow.
And I had a very long recovery because it's a long operation, and they're cutting your stomach, and they're doing all this stuff. So I was like hit by a truck, you know. It took a long time.
And did you have any problems in like movement around your arm as well because of the lymph nodes that they take?
I did not. And I'll tell you what I learned about that too. Because that was a question, right? I was like, what about lymphedema? My poor aunt, she has it so badly. Yeah. What my breast surgeon said to me is this, and this is important for people to know. She said, the reason that happens a lot of times is the way the surgeon handles the lymph nodes.
Oh.
It is the way they handle them, the way they take them, that they're rough, or if they do it with skill. It's a certain skill. So it's very important to have somebody. She said, you're not going to have the problem. She says, don't even think about it. I'm very gentle the way I handle lymph nodes. Who knew that, right?
No, I never heard of that. And so how many lymph nodes did they take? Do you remember? Or?
I think I had 8 on one side and less on the other because I didn't have anything in here. You know what? Before they operate on you, they do radioactive dye. They shoot it into you because they want to see what lymph nodes light up, where it goes, right? You've heard this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like taking forever. It wasn't working on me. It was like, she was like, just get up here. We're starting. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
They did it, and it just was like, it
didn't work.
She's like, come on up the elevator. We're gonna start. I'm like, oh, okay, you know. But it was like really.
That's very interesting what you said about the lymph nodes. I know that some people. Yeah, very interesting. They take a lot more lymph nodes, but I can imagine that you know, doing it a good job out of it is probably very beneficial.
We had a bunch on this side because this was the side, and then she did several on this side, and she was so amazing. I mean, this woman was leaving for Italy on a vacation like the next day after my surgery, and she said, she came to see me before she went to the airport. And she said, I'm going to the airport now, but I'm waiting for the results and I will call you. And she did not leave until she gave me the results that I was clear in my lymph nodes.
That's awesome.
That was like, wow, you know. And they took off the other breast. They tested it. There was nothing in the other one. And
so then after that,
I just got really emotional talking about that just now. I don't know. It crept up on me for a minute.
So when you think about, you know, all the physical suffering that you go through as well, right? And obviously, I always find that the mental suffering after the aftermath a lot. I know it's a lot more as well. So how long were you in recovery from the surgery?
So I was in the hospital for a week, which is not common, you know, but I had a big surgery because with this surgery, they leave you open a little bit.
Yeah.
because they have to check with Dopplers. You know what a Doppler is?
Yeah.
They make
They
sure,
need to check that it's still
they want to make sure the blood is flowing because it's a transplant. So they're coming in every minute, and I'm just like way out of it. And I remember it was a really tough moment when I wound up the first night when I was coming I was drugged up, you know, and out of it. And I remember laying there and being like, my parents were like at the foot of the bed, and I was like, what did I do with my life? You know, I was like in that moment, you know, I was like, what did I do? And I didn't do the things I wanted, and I got to live my life, and I got to really live my dreams, and I can't believe I wasted my life. I was like in one of those drug, you know, hazes, thinking, what did I do with my, you know what I mean? What did I do? Like, you know, you're like, wow.
Yeah, suddenly you get this urgency of living a life that you want, right? As opposed to a life that you were other people expected. So how did you, what was the thing that you wanted to do that you didn't do?
I was in high school and in college. I was a singer and a songwriter. And that was my passion, and that was what I was supposed to do with my life. And my life took a left turn. You know, I wound up going into the family business and just becoming very involved in my family business for many, many years. And then I became an entrepreneur. So I did that, and I became an entrepreneur. I became a real estate investor. And the thing is, I was really good at these things. You know, I wound up, you know, making it entertainment and whatnot, but I was hiding, you know, I was like hiding in my life a little because I liked it and I was good at it. And I was helping plenty of people and lots of women, and I was on television and I was an expert in my field. I was on the radio. I found a way, you know, I was supposed to be an entertainer. So I found a way to do it, you know, and help people. But I was hiding, you know, I was hiding in that, even though it was great and I was good at it. It was a family business. And you know, anybody who's been in family business, I think, can identify with the fact that when it's great, it's great. And when it isn't, it's not. And, you know, we came to some disagreements, you know, me and my stepfather, and ultimately I wound up leaving. But I started my own company after that, my own car company where I help women with their deals, plenty of men too. And I became a professional real estate investor and kind of successful, you know, with things that I had done. But once I had breast cancer, it really made me take a hard look at my life and really how I wanted to spend the rest of it. I liked a lot what I was doing, but I wanted to live my dream. I call it living my dream, and that's like my tagline, you know. And it just made me have that realization that life is so short. And I had a great life, you know. I had a fabulous husband and a wonderful child, and I really had what I wanted. I wasn't lacking anything, but I didn't explore my passion the way that I should have explored it.
You didn't allow yourself to live your dream, did you? Like,
no, until I decided. You know, when I was going through chemo, and you know, when you go through chemo, you're really down. I mean, you're down for the count. Like there's just those days you cannot get out of bed and you can't do anything. And I just swore to myself that when I get out of this, I'm going to sing. I don't care how, I don't care what, but I'm going to. I'm going to do something. No expectation. I'm just going to do it. I swore. And that's what I've been doing. I mean, I have my businesses, thank God, like that allowed me, but I regretted it for so long. Like, even when I would go to the theater, I would it was very hard for me to go to the theater. I would get like very emotional sitting there. It was like painful because I knew that was supposed to be me. I knew that was what my calling was. And I didn't do that out of fear and different things from when I was young.
So how did you, so all of those years, did you keep like singing like just at home, or did you keep
voice lessons?
Not even
I never stopped taking voice lessons.
Okay.
And I would go through these phases, like where I'd where I'd be into it, whatever, but I didn't follow it through.
Yeah.
So I was hiding in a different life, and I was saying, this is good. I have a title, you know, I'm good. I'm the head of the thing, and I'm the head of finance, and I'm blah, 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 blah. You know, it worked. It worked for me in another way. You know, I learned a lot about business, and I became very skilled, and, you know, I love real estate. So it was like, I had other passions and stuff, but that wasn't the true essence of me, like who I was supposed to be. And now I really feel like it's my mission to inspire and empower people through my story and my music, that people should, you know, really live their truest life and not waste any time and get to it, you know, because you don't know when it can be taken. And when you see your mortality, this is what I felt. When I saw that death was a possibility, I'm not doing it to be morbid, but when you face your mortality, like there's nothing more eye-opening and awakening and scary than that. There isn't.
At 40 years old, I mean, we still live our lives feeling we are invincible, right? That we're never going to die. Let's face it. This is it. Nobody, unless you've gone through something like we have, you know, people are just plopping along going like, oh, I know, like, you know, I still got fine. I still got, you know,
they're sympathetic. They can be sympathetic, and they're very kind, but you don't know till you've been told those words, those 3 words, you have cancer, like that rocked me, you know, like that was it. And you know, some people don't wake up from that. Some people, they go through and they don't make a change. I just refuse to not live the life I really like. To be fair, I've really done most of the things I like to do, but this piece, this is the newest, you know, I wanted to accomplish something with my music, you know? And a lot of people told me, you can't do it. You're too old.
And this is the thing, right? Especially music, because it's it's a challenging industry. I bet you heard over and over again when you were young at 17, 18, going, nah, you're never going to be able to make money out. Nah, why would you do that? Nah,
which is one of the reasons that I didn't. I was afraid, you know, I was afraid I really couldn't. And you know what? There's a lot of people that are afraid they can't, but they do it.
No.
And I didn't do that. I chose the other way, right? Because there's plenty of people that are willing to take that risk. I was too nervous. I came from you know, a divorced home, and I was always the issue. You know, I was the only child from the original marriage, you know, from my parents. And I lived in my stepfather and my mother's house with 2 other sisters. I kind of really didn't fit in either household. My father remarried and had another child. And I was always the source of, you know, who's paying for this? Who's paying for that? You should pay. You should pay. I mean, I wound up being very, very nervous about money and very worried that I wouldn't be able to do, you know what I mean? I grew up, all I wanted to do was make money, you know, because I was so afraid, and I didn't want people to, in my adult life, I didn't want anybody to be able to tell me what I could do with money. Because it was always a problem with me, you know. And
you didn't want to be the problem anymore. You wanted to
I didn't want to be the problem.
You wanted to pay for your own way and not have to rely on anyone anymore.
So I became so driven to succeed. And so I was more worried about my stability and my security than really going and doing my passion and making the sacrifice that would take. I had to secure my future. I had to make sure I grew up being very like in scarcity, you know what I mean? Like, and to a degree, it was a good thing because it drove me, and it's still a driver today. It's still sort of a weak spot, but you know, I'm in a different place now, but that lives though, you know, that childhood thing sometimes still lives a little, but that's my motivator. But now it's like, okay, we need to be rational, you know, but when you're young and you've been, you know, you were afraid and your parents are arguing over you all the time, and all I wanted to do was get out and work, like,
and make your own life and be independent, right? And
exactly.
So now that you're talking about how driven you were and your life before cancer, why do you think you got cancer?
You know, I think genetics.
Yeah.
I really think it's genetics. For me, I know a lot of people, you know, I know that it is the belief that if you go through hard times and you're stressed and whatever, you cause the cancer cells and things like that. But I never did the why me. I kind of assumed I was going to get something. I know that sounds crazy because I think everybody gets something. I don't want to say that, but it's like, the
At
environment.
some point in life, you get like you have to go through something kind of.
It's like the environment, the genetics, I guess it's not that I'm cynical. It's just that like I look around and I see so
Everywhere.
many people have something. So I'm like, was I shocked? Yes. Because, oh my God, it's me. But what's going to be next is what I want to know. You know, what do I have to look forward to now?
Well, only
God forbid 900 times over. But, you know, listen, I did everything I could. I had a double mastectomy. I went through chemo. I had a hysterectomy. I mean, I can't be more transparent than I'm being right now, but.
So you had chemo after surgery. How long after did you start your chemo?
I had to wait to heal because I had a very, you know, I had wound, you know, so it was like I had surgery in July. I didn't start chemo until September, I think.
Wow.
I think it was September I started chemo.
Yeah.
September. I think I started in September. Yep.
And how many sessions did you have?
I think I had 8 courses. It was tough stuff.
Every 3 weeks.
I had Taxol. I had
cytotoxic.
Yeah, I had all that. ACT.
Okay.
Erythro, whatever that is, and I had this very tough stuff.
Yeah. And it was every 3 weeks.
I had every other week.
Oh wow.
Every other week. I lost my hair, everything.
How was the losing your hair?
Well, if I knew now what I didn't know then, I was too scared. Now, knowing the process, I would have shaved it. But yeah. when you're just going through it, I was so scared. And my father's a hairdresser, so it started to just come out like in clumps, and like in the shower
everywhere.
And so I went to my dad, and he was, you know, he cut it to here, and then he cut it to here, and then I had a pixie, and then that was it. But I wouldn't do that to God forbid, a million times. But you know, you're just so scared. It's your hair.
Yeah. Again, that's part of your identity, right? As a woman, it's very, very. It was the first question. I'm not very vain at all, and it was the first question I asked the oncologist. Am I gonna?
I had so many wigs, though.
Sorry.
I had so many wigs.
I can imagine you had.
I named them. I had Shania. Woo! That was like my country western wig. I did, and you know what's funny? If you guys Google me, I wrote an article about this.
Did you?
I'll
put it down in the comments.
Yeah, I've written for like a lot of things, and I wrote about this, that I named my wig. I wrote about life after breast cancer and everything, and so I had these wigs, and I had these pieces, and I had these scarves, and I was not gonna look bad. Okay, but you look bad. Okay, you look bad. There's no way around it. You know, you have that look. You just get that look.
Did people look at you thinking like, oh, she's got a wig, or not really? Were they?
Well, I didn't think they were, but of course they were. No, you know. I mean, I kept it. I was like, it's funny, like I'm talking a lot right now and everything, but like I didn't tell anyone. But I think people knew, you know, I think there's that look that you get. Yeah,
it's pretty, well, for me, I couldn't not say to anyone. I had my PICC line on my arm.
Oh.
Yeah, so, and here it was too hot. There's no way I could have all of those wigs. So you go out for 5 minutes a walk, and it was like so hot, even in the winter. So I would take my beanie off, and I would have my shaved hair. And all of a sudden, everybody's looking at me, and I'm like, why are they looking at me? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've got shaved hair, and you know, you feel like saying, yeah, I do have cancer, thank you very much.
Damn it. Right. I had these baseball caps. These baseball caps, they're kind of cool. I mean, they have hair already in them. So when you don't feel like wearing your wig, have you ever seen this?
No, I haven't.
You put a baseball cap on, and that long hair is there. Perfect. You cannot tell. It is amazing. So like when I didn't feel like wearing a wig, I just put the cap on, and it had like hair in it. That was good. And then I had this band. I had this one band that went like this with just to here. It was my fortune teller. I was very Cleopatra. And I would put this awesome, they make these things called, God, what do they call them? I forget now, because now I have to know. But
Yeah.
they're already tied, which was great. And so I order them in all colors and everything, and I wear it on top of it. So I look like, and I wore hoops, and I was like, you know, trying to look normal.
At least you were having a laugh and having fun. That's awesome.
Listen, I was very lucky. I didn't have any infections. I didn't have anything slowing me down with chemo. You know, a lot of people, their cells aren't good. They go for the test. I went right through it.
That's amazing.
I was very, very lucky with that. I mean, I have friends who've had this, and they had infection, and they had. It's so important who your doctor is. I really think has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So then after, so you were finished by what, December or something? You were finished.
I was finished in December.
Yeah.
And then I had to recover again. And then I went and I had the hysterectomy in March.
Right. So it was it was
like a long haul.
A whole year off.
And you're exhausted. I mean, you don't feel good, you know, you're just tired.
So then what would you say was the hardest thing in the whole process?
I don't like, you know, I think a hard thing is telling your child,
Okay.
you know, explaining it to them.
How old was your child at the time?
She was 9. And she knew, like, it was so weird because like the night before I was like reading, okay, how do you tell a child? You know, thank God I like geared up for it. I wasn't ready, but I was like preparing myself. And then we got in the car, and we're in the car, and she's in the back seat, and we're backing out to like go shopping. And she's like, I swear to God, I'm backing out. She's like, Mom, do you have cancer? I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, go back into drive, pull back. I go, okay, guess we're not going anywhere right now. So I jump in the back seat with her. And I guess, you know, kids, they sense it or they hear it. I don't know.
Yeah.
She picked up on it or she must have heard something. I don't know. And I said, you know, and thank God I was prepared. I just explained it, you know, very calmly and whatnot. And, are you going to die? No, not today. You know, no, you know, I'm going to go. I'm going to get this done. I didn't have her come to the hospital. I really didn't want her to see all that.
Yeah.
It's too scary.
Was she okay throughout the process though? Because at 9,
unbelievable. She was so great.
Yeah.
She was amazing. She would sit with me. She would help me. She wanted to help me. You know, so she would come in and she would help me, and she was great. You can't hide this from a kid. You can't hide this from a child. You can't because you can't. You know, there's times where you just can't hide it. You have to be honest.
Yeah. Well, my kids were a little bit younger. They were 6 and 4, and obviously the conversation's a bit different because they're so smart. And I had some books from the hospital, and I read this book to my son who was 6. And, you know, I was going to take some strong medication, and it's called the chemo shock. I was going to eat the bad cells, and then sometimes Mom was going to feel tired.
Right.
Mommy needed to eat 3 ice lollies, and you're only going to get 1. I read this whole book, and he said, are you going to eat 3 ice lollies, and I'm only going to get...
Priorities, honey, priorities.
Okay, so if that's all you took out of the book, perfect.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, that was great. The other hard thing was when you had chemo, it was like, I just would be out of it. I just would sleep for hours. Like, you're just tired. That was hard because, you know, you want to give attention, and I couldn't keep my eyes open, you know? Yeah. So you feel bad for your spouse. It's very hard on your spouse.
Very. How do you think your husband got on? Like, obviously during treatment, mostly they have to be strong, but
he was amazing. I cannot complain. I'm very lucky. He helped me with so much. Very supportive. He understood.
What about at the end, like when everything was finished?
He was always good. You know, he made me feel pretty. He made me feel, I never felt anything weird. He, you know, he thought I looked great. He was very, he's that kind of man, you know. I could have a trash bag on my head, and he's like, "You're beautiful, honey." Like, he's just like, even if I'm not, he'll be like, "You look terrific." You know, he's smart. This is a smart man we have on our hands. You know? That is a smart man.
But
he was scared though. He was scared. He was scared. He was nervous. you know,
Yeah.
but he was great.
Yeah. That's a very
Anything he
valid
could do to
point.
help me. My
Sometimes,
family was very supportive. My family was very supportive during this. My
yeah.
sisters, my parents, everybody helped me.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think that's so important to have that. Well, we are here by ourselves, and my husband, he was amazing as well, but it was very hard on him, very hard. Yeah. And what was the positive, the most positive thing that out of this experience for you? Have you been able to find a positive?
Yeah, I think the positive is that I'm really living truly to what I want to do.
Yeah.
It made me completely go full force, into music. I still have my businesses, of course, right? I have to pay for the dream. But I've achieved things I never thought I could achieve. It gave me the urgency to push. It gave me the new way to revamp, recreate, re-envision my life. I've achieved things people said you never could do at this age.
Amazing.
I became a Billboard charting artist this year. My record that I wrote, the first record that I kind of wrote right afterwards, it's been around for 10 years, this record, and it just, hit the charts, now. I've been on the radio several times. People have said I could never do that. It's the urgency to achieve, to want to go to the next level, to want to be more than I was, to want to have a new vision of wanting to help other women, who've been in a life-altering circumstance, even men. How do you come back? It gave me a bigger purpose, how to share your story and help people come back from life-altering circumstances where they have to recreate themselves.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can.
That is amazing. And I think, what you've done, it's very, very challenging because, the industry that obviously, and when you look back, what you have achieved in the last 9 years, 10 years.
Yeah, it's taken many years. Yeah.
I know. And people don't realize how, much effort,
so much
sometimes
effort.
you see people, first in the top songs, like in the Billboard, and you're like, you don't realize they have worked really hard.
Oh yeah. No.
And you've been working on it, but you haven't given up, and the whole refocus you've given to your life is just amazing.
I really felt like it's just I'm so happy. Like when you're in your zone, there's nothing like being in your zone. And I hope to help people find that, and to believe they can, and that life isn't over because you had cancer. Life isn't over because you lost the job. Life isn't over because you got the divorce. It's how do you take this deck of cards and redeal them in your life? How do you take what's happened to you and make it positive, and elevate to that next level? I'm all about that.
That's amazing. So how can people reach out to you?
So you can find me on all social platforms.
I will put all your your social platform stuff here.
So @nicole_marxson.com is my music, website. I'm on Instagram at @NicoleMarxsonMusic. I'm on YouTube at Nicole Marxson. I'm on Twitter. I'm everywhere. DM me, reach out to me. I love hearing, stories. I'm on Instagram. I'm live at 5 every Tuesday on Instagram.
I know, that's amazing.
You gotta come on. I gotta have you on to talk about how you're living your dream, and I love to talk about that. But yeah, I'm there. People want to follow me at Nicole Marxson Music, and here to inspire and help people through to their next phase of their journey in their life.
Awesome. That is beautiful. I'll put all the details below. I'm sure there will be people wanting to reach out. And now the last question is, if you were to meet somebody today with the same cancer, breast cancer, stage 2, what would you say to that person?
That what was kind of said to me, which is in a year from now, this is going to be a very different memory for you. It's very intense right now. It's very scary right now, but it will pass. You're going to get through it, and you just have to be diligent and put one foot in front of the other. Just that's how I got through it. Just do the tasks, that you know that you have to do. And really what I would also say is research. Do your research.
Yeah.
Question the doctors if you feel that. Don't be shy. Don't be embarrassed. This is your life. Advocate for yourself. And really look at the possibilities of what's available to you.
Yeah.
And don't just take one opinion. You know, really look around. And don't let the fear be so frightening that you don't feel you can face that to do the advocacy for yourself. Because no one's going to advocate for you but you, really. It's sad to say that, but that's the kind of life we're in right now.
Yeah.
And so I would just say, never be embarrassed. This is your life. It's your body. And really just be an advocate for yourself.
Beautiful. I think so beautifully said. Yeah. Thank you so much, Nicole, for your time. It's been amazing having you. You know, so many good information, you know, through your experience. I think there will be so much learning for people, and I'm sure there will be people who are reaching out as well.
Yeah, I'm here to help, and I'm honored to be here with you. And I'm so amazed at how you and I found each other across the world.
I know. This is so exciting.
And you're a lifelong friend now, you see?
Exactly. That is beautiful.
It's amazing. I give my love and hugs to everybody out there. If anybody needs anything, just reach out.
Awesome. Take care, my lovely.
Thank you.